Hello and welcome back to the channel. In this video I'll be showing how to make an infinity dress that can be worn and wrapped in different ways. And if this is something you're interested in learning or knowing how to make, you want to keep on watching up to the end. To begin, I'm going to start by cutting the lower part of the garment, which is a flare. I'm going to cut out a full flare, and to do this I folded my fabric into four. I folded into two first, then folded into two again, so which means my fabric is folded into four currently. Then from this pointed edge that has all folds, I'm going to mark out the radius for the flare. Now the formula for the radius will be my waist circumference divided by 6.28, and that is what I have marked out for. Mine is approximately 4.5, and that is what I have marked out around that peak, so that would be the waistline. Then from that area we just marked out, I'm going to mark out the length. I don't want this to be relatively short, so I'll be using 17 inches for the length of this skirt. If you want it longer, you can go longer. If you want it shorter, you can go shorter, depending on your preference. But I'm working with 17 inches for the length, and that is what I have marked out from that radius mark. You can see the 17-inch mark on the bottom here. This would be the hem of the garment, while that point we marked out earlier would be the waistline. I did cut it out, and this is what the lower part of the garment looks like. It's a full flare. So what I'm going to do right now is to slit one side of the fold open, just to open up the flare, and so it's easier to sew and attach a zipper later on. So I'm just going to slit one part of the flare open. So when it's cut open, this is what the lower part of the garment would look like. It's one full flare piece. Next up, I'll be making the waistband for this garment, and to do this I want a waistband that is 30 inches in length. So do note that my waist circumference is 28 inches, but I'm taking a waistband that is 30 inches in length because I want to have enough room for allowance and seam. Then the waistband would measure 4 inches wide and 30 inches long. And do note that my fabric is folded into four because I want to cut out two waistband pieces together. So I'll have my fabric folded into four because I'm cutting the two waistband pieces together, but you can cut them separately. You can cut one piece and cut the second piece later, but I decided to do everything together. So the waistband would measure 4 inches wide and 30 inches long. So do note, like I said, I'm cutting two pieces for this just because I'll be turning the hem over or the seam over with the second piece of the waistband. So these are the two pieces. They measure 30 inches in length and 4 inches in width. So these are my waistbands placed right here. So what I'll be doing next is to cut out the strap that would be wrapped around the shoulder or tied however you want it. This is 10 inches wide and 45 inches long. I have 4 pieces of these because my fabric is by 45, so I cut out 4 pieces, and I'll be joining 2 of these together to make two full pieces. So if you're on the bustier side, instead of using 10 inches for the width, you can go as much as 15 or 14, but I opted for 10 inches for the width. Okay, so I'll be increasing the length of this by joining 2 of these pieces together. So what that means, I'm going to place 2 of these straps or pieces right sides facing and join along the width on one side, just so I have one really long strap. I'm just going to place them right sides facing like this and join, and I'll do the same thing for the other 2 pieces, just so that when I join I have 2 straps that are 90 inches long each, because these pieces measure 45 by 10. So when I join 2 of them together, it would be 90 inches in length. I did join it, and this is what it looks like. I went ahead to stop stitch it down so it's all nice and flat. Okay, next up I'll go ahead and fold in the sides along the length. Just fold it by half an inch with a double fold because you don't want the rough edges. I'm going to do a double fold along the length on both sides. Then I'm going to fold one side of the width to make it close, neat and tidy, and I'll be showing you guys why I stitched up just one side for the width and not both ends. This is what it looks like after it has been stitched. You can see it's all folded in on both sides. I did a double fold like I said I would, and on one end you can see that I folded the width by with a double fold on one end while the other end is bare. So the reason is the side that is bare, the side of the width that is not folded, is what will be sewing in between the bands. Okay, so there'll be no need to fold it in while we're going to be inserting it into the bands. All right, so that part that is not folded, I'm going to fold it into two like this, fold it into two like this, and take a dart that is 4 inches long and ½ inch wide. So the reason we're taking a dart is to give it a more curved shape as opposed to just sewing it onto the waistband flat like this. So what you do, you fold it into two and just take a little dart that is 4 inches long. So this helps it get that curved look when you tie it or wear it. Okay, after doing this for both straps, we'll be attaching it to the waistband. So these are my waistbands right here. You remember I cut out two pieces for the waistband, and that is because we'll be using one piece to close the seams for the other piece. So I'm going to fold my waistband into two like this. Just see what I'm doing. Then I'm going to mark the midpoint or notch the midpoint, just a little cut. Then I'm not going to be attaching anything to that midpoint. So from that midpoint, I'm going to mark 2 inches inwards. So that is where my straps would sit on either side of the waistband. So I just fold and notch the 2-inch point like this, and that is where my strap would sit. So when I open it up like this is the center notch. Nothing would go here. This is just to serve as a guide to get the midpoint, and on this point here is the right and the left notch. So the strap that would be on the right would be on that right notch, while the strap that would be on the left would start from that left notch. So basically what this means is this is the part of my strap that is not folded. I'm going to open up the bands and I'm going to place one not on the middle point but on the right part of that notch. So that is one on the left, one on the right. So nothing goes to that center point, just one on the left and one on the right. So you can see the folded edge for my strap. It will go onto that part that I notched on the right like this, just on that notch point. I close it back up just to like close all the seams. Then the other strap would go right on that notch that is on the left part of the waistband, just that point. You can see that nothing goes to that center notch. That was just to serve as a guide. So when I place this one here and I close it again, this is what it looks like. I'm going to now sew from end to end, ensuring that I capture the straps. So I'm just going to join the waistband from this end here all the way to the other end there. So this is what it looks like after sewing. I ended up reducing that gap between the center front and the band to ½ an inch on either side. So instead of using 2 inches on either side and having a gap that is 4 inches wide, I ended up using a gap that is half an inch and ended up with a gap of 1 inch. So do take this into consideration when joining or making your pieces. I reduced this to half an inch and not 2 inches because it turned out to be really wide. Then this is what the wrong side of the band looks like. See why I cut two band pieces. You can see that the seams are locked in between the bands and nothing is exposed. So what I'll be doing next is to attach the flare, which is the lower part of our garment, to the lower part of the waistband. So I'm basically going to place it right sides like this and attach the flare to the waistband from end to end. This is what it looks like after sewing. You can see that it's already coming together. The next step would be to join the sides of the lower skirts together. So I'm just going to bring those two ends together for the skirts, this end here and the other end over there. I'm just going to join them together, ensuring that the waistband is equal in length. So when I do that, the next step is to measure 7 inches downwards from the waistline, and that is where I'll be inserting my zipper later on. Then from that 7-inch mark, I'm going to mark 1 inch all the way down, and that would be the starting point for my seam. I'm just going to mark 1 inch all the way down to the hem of the garment. So I'm just marking 1 inch from that 7-inch point all the way down. So I'll be closing this point while the upper part I'll be inserting the zipper there. So when I'm going to do next is sew from that point all the way to the bottom and insert the zip at the upper part where we left the 7-inch hook. So this is it after installing the zipper and sewing all the way down. Next up and finally, I will be I'll be sewing or folding over the hem, and I'll also overlock all the raw seams just to make it nice and tidy. Then I will hem the bottom or folding the hem of the garment, and that is pretty much it. Do let me know your thoughts about this tutorial in the comment section. Do give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. Do like, share, comment and subscribe. Join the family if you haven't subscribed. This is how it looks in the